The first time I met Michael Jackson was in 1970 in Philadelphia. Motown had just put the Jackson 5 on the road, and their first engagement as a Motown act was at the Philadelphia Convention Center. I was running a fan club for Diana Ross and the Supremes. I was about 12, and Diana Ross invited me and my family to see the Jackson 5's performance, and then to go backstage and meet the boys. For me personally, my biggest thrill was that Diana Ross invited me to a concert, more so than it was meeting the Jackson 5. No one knew who they were. They had just signed to the label, and I Want You Back had come out, and it was beginning to make a lot of noise. Diana was very proud to be able to introduce them to the public, and she was really happy, to be able to have me and my family be backstage at that show. They were just kids. They were pretty normal youngsters. Michael was a practical jokester. He loved playing practical jokes. I remember him running around a lot backstage. He was very happy. He seemed to be a very happy child. But I was a kid too, so it's not as if I was actually in an analytical place at that time in my life. I just remember that they seemed very normal. It was difficult to believe that they were Motown artists, because they were just kids and they were my age, and it was as if they had some kind of stardust rub off on them, because they were becoming close to Berry Gordy and becoming close to Suzanne DePass and to Diana Ross and to Bobby Taylor, and all of my idols were people that they were beginning to meet and actually work with. So Michael and I talked a lot about how great it is to know Diana Ross and how cool it is to know Bobby Taylor, and what's that like. They had recorded a lot of stuff at that point for Motown with Bobby Taylor, and they so they were talking a lot about being at Motown and how exciting it was for them.
I first set eyes on Michael Jackson in front of Hitsville, and Diana Ross was showing him off, and he's just a little baby, 12 years old, and she was the one that discovered him. And later on I found out that Bobby Taylor actually discovered him, but he seemed to just walk in Diana Ross's shadow. He loved her that much, but he was quiet. He was Michael, and he was just excited about everything, as I was excited, because that was my first trip to Detroit, because I'm the West Coast artist from Motown, and he was just beautiful, just as he was until the day he was taken. He was beautiful and talented, and that's the Michael that I remember, the childlike Michael.
I met Michael Jackson for the first time at the Hemsley Palace Hotel. My father was the general manager of the hotel, and he became very good friends with a guy named Michael Jackson. At 4.5 years old, I really didn't know who Michael Jackson was, nor did I care. So one day I went to work with my father. He said, "I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine. His name is Michael. He's a singer and entertainer." I said, "Sure, I would love to." So that morning I went to the work with my father, and he brought me to the Hemsley Palace Hotel where he worked. We got there and we met a gentleman by the name of Bill Bray, who my father was very close with. Bill Bray was Michael's security, and Michael looked at Bill as a father figure in his life. Through the Motown years, he's been through them for years. We went to Michael's room, my father and I, and there was Michael. And Michael was just sitting on a chair. He got up, he was wearing his sunglasses. He says, "Hi, what's your name?" He goes, I said, "My name is Frank." And he gave a big hug to my father, so obviously I know they were very close. And we just started talking, and he just wanted to know what I was interested in. And I remember sitting on his laughed. We took a picture, and all I was thinking about was playing with a toy car, driving it all over his head. And he took the car and then tried to fly it around. And I'll never forget that moment that I met Michael Jackson at the Hemsley Palace Hotel. I didn't realize who I met, and quite frankly, I really didn't care. In fact, on the way home, I'll never forget this. My father said, "I don't think you realize who you just met today." And I said, "You know what? I just was looking forward to going home and watching some cartoons or something." But that was the start of the journey that I was about to take in my life, and I don't think I had any idea, or any of us had any idea where that would take us.
Michael, to me, never sang like a child. From the time I got in Grove, he was singing like a man. So I didn't know Michael when he sang like a child. When I met Michael, he was singing like a man, okay? He was getting down. He was a crowd pleaser, and he knew how to work the audience. And that came from watching the best. I mean, his musical education is par excellence. You can't get no better than that, watching Jackie Wilson and James Brown and Joe Tex and Joe Simon and Bobby Taylor, and seeing the Supremes and the Charlites and the Delphonics and the OJs. I mean, you seeing these guys, you know, coming up, and you like this, and there they are, the guys you hear on the radio, and you're watching them. You're learning. It's a learning process. I mean, for everybody involved, it's a learning process. So I can safely say we learned from the greatest. In the beginning, it was like level. You had to set of rules. Everybody followed the rules. It was said before, there's no one individual that's bigger than the group. You know, that's what makes the group. Everybody in the group makes the group. But then as time goes on and life goes on, you start to see different things, you know. But me, as a person, I always knew when watching from the stage, the little guy running in the front is the draw card. So there was no problem in the group about them, Michael being the star, because when it shines, you can't help but see the light. Character and him. He could control both of them. Some people get consumed by their character, don't know when to step out of character. Michael would step out of character, and he didn't want to be bothered with you. That way, that's when he did his little deep thinking and formulating. Then he's back. He's the Peck's bad boy. He's playing tricks on you. He's putting water balloons on you and the whole 9 yards. Basic, you know, if you look at it, it's what you probably would have heard, a thin line between genius and insanity, you know, and all these old cliches through the years, but I could safely say that I saw a genius in the making. The genius of Michael, you know. They always say like the genius of Ray Charles, you know, the musical genius. To watch a kid that could just move so many people. I mean, back then we didn't have like the greatest instruments in the world, you know. Other big name groups, they would have, you know, big PAs and all that. Jacksons didn't have that, but what they had was soul. See, and soul goes a long way. You can have $10 billion worth of equipment, baby, but if you ain't got no soul, you might as well stay home.
You know, success is a very fickle thing, because there's a certain point that you can get to with success, whereas you have no life whatsoever. I mean, I know that people who, especially those who strive to be in show business or in any type of entertainment, they want to be the best that there's ever been, and they want to achieve the highest amount of success that you can possibly achieve. But most people don't realize what comes with that. What comes with that is a loss of life. You lose your ability to be a person, basically. You lose your ability to just have a normal life where you can just say, hey, I think I'll go to the store, and go to the store. Or, well, I want to go to the movies, and go to the movies, or I think I'll go shopping, do anything like that. You lose the ability to be a person because people won't let you be. So with the success that Michael achieved, he was unable to have a normal life. He was unable to have the life that he craved so much.
Me and Michael, we went out to a shoe store one day. He wanted to get some sneaks. So we went up to Chestnut Street, not far from our studio. And we walked up there, and he looked in the store and found some sneaks. But by the time he was in the store, there were maybe 100 little girls standing outside this door. And I mean, we were up there, incognito. This was not, and they were all hollering, Michael, Michael, Michael. I said, Mike, we couldn't walk anywhere with these guys. This was the first artist that I've been associated with, and the only artist that I've been associated with that you could not walk down the street with. And so when we were walking back, and they had this whole army of teenagers and young girls, I said, Mike, you gotta find a girl. So I said, oh, Mike, that's a good song. So we came back, and Huff and I, we wrote a song called Gotta Find Me a Girl.
Michael was always, a happy kid. He was always, fun to be around as a kid. That's what I remember, just, those moments. And also, I can remember a time when they was actually on tour, when they was at Jackson 5, and they was performing over at Chicago, this place called the Marriott, I believe it was, the Marriott. And it's a funny story. We was all upstairs in the hotel, and it was early that morning, and we kind of came out, talking to each other, and I went back inside the room, and Michael was actually drawing a photo of me because he was a great artist. I never knew Mike could really draw that good. And at the same time, I had these water balloons. I would look out over the balcony of the hotel, and I see people, just tons of people downstairs, and I would actually drop the balloons on them. And Mike was like, don't do that, don't do that. He said, don't do that. He said, we have so much trouble with, our fans, who, they actually try to get to them, and, it's basically like being attacked by this mob of crowd. So that same morning, we kind of went outside the hotel room, and we still had our t-shirts on, our full, our little shorts and stuff on. And next thing I know, I hear this thunder of like people running. I thought it was like like you hear a cattle or something when a herd is running, stampede. And next thing I know, man, all these girls came towards the rooms. Jermaine, everybody ran inside the room and shut the door. I was the only person who got left out because I didn't move fast enough. I got attacked by all these girls, man. I had a big afro at the time, so they thought I was like Michael or somebody. And they were just going at it, man. And my auntie, Katie, she was so upset because she was like, why did you guys leave him out the room and stuff? And when I came back in the room, when it was all done, and I never forget when the crowd settled down and they got all the people out of the hotel. And when I went back into the room, Michael was just laughing. It was just so funny to him. But then it was a good experience for me because now I can understand what they go through as far as being famous, and people, just want to touch him, but they got me. But I got him. Yeah, right. And it was so funny. So they laughed about that. But Monty was really upset. Like, how y'all let that boy get caught outside like that? But I guess I had it coming because I was, messing with people with the balloons, dropping them on people. But
when we went on the Dangerous tour, my brother and I think, for the first time, I would say, realized what an incredible, incredible entertainer he was, and what an incredible artist he was, and how he was so well loved all over the world. We would, every city we went to, we'd get off the private jet, and there would be a sea of people, David. There would be a sea of people from the time we got to the airport all the way escorting us to the hotel. I've never seen anything like this. Mind you, I wasn't shocked because for whatever reason, nothing really shocks me because I've been around him so long that it was just expected. But I have to say that was a moment when I realized, I'm like, wow, no matter where he goes, he has screaming fans and people. He's loved all over the world, and there's not one artist that ever got that attention.
the funniest experience I had with Michael, we were at Quincy's house and we were having dinner. And Quincy was trying to set him up with this girl. And I was sitting next to Michael and the girl was sitting on the other side of me. So I suppose I was supposed to do something, to make this happen, And Michael, at one point, Quincy kept throwing out hints, about the two of them and their young people and ha ha ha. And finally, Michael leaned over to me and he said, "Nick, what can I say to her?" I said, "Michael," I said, "that's going to be up to you because I can't lead you through this." But he kind of chuckled it off, but he was so young and didn't know anything about dating that it was really funny to me because he really didn't know what to say to the girl. And after dinner, instead of talking to the girl, he went and played with the kids.
I remember that.
I really wanted to marry Michael, and you were in the way all the time.
I know,
That's
he should
why.
have married you. Okay.
Yeah, he damn sure should have, you're right.
I love you so much.
I love you too.